Psalm 91. So, I've kind of been fighting the Lord on this a wee bit. But I didn't consciously fight him, but I've been fighting something that now I realize the Lord was showing me to do. I thought I kind of keep going through over some of the things that happened on this this camping trip, this hiking camping trip, and there was some. I mean, for one thing, I want to glorify God because He moves powerfully. For another thing, there's some good lessons learned that I think would edify others. And so I thought, well, at some point, God will maybe provide an opportunity to share that in some form, like sort of a part of it, you know, in kind of abbreviated form. And then I felt like, well, maybe I should just walk right through it, because there's significant things. And I thought, no, I can't do that, Lord. You know, for one thing, I'm fearful of Sue being upset with me for endangering my daughter. For the other thing, people will think I'm a bad father, and
oh my goodness, can you imagine?
And I also thought then, well, I would sound like I'm trying to vindicate myself, or this is the way you should do it, kind of, you know, thing like, here's my summer holiday, and this is what you should do. So I kept saying, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to do that. Well, the Lord's just, He's telling me to do it. He's telling me to do it, so I'm just humbling myself, and here it is. I'm going to do it. It's nothing terrible, sweetheart, okay? It's just...
She can go white there for a second. I think you can hide things. I can tell your voice on the phone. I said, good, really good. I know. It's scary.
So anyway, I just pray the Lord gives me the words.
They think they fool us, don't they?
So let's read this Psalm 91. This psalm was parts of this psalm I was repeatedly declaring them over Eva and over myself when we were on this trip, particularly on the Wednesday. And again, you guys, your prayers were of such power and efficacy. They truly were, because we really needed them. Okay, so this is Psalm 91. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him I will trust. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, nor of the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor of the destruction that lays waste at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Only with your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked. Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place, no evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. For He shall give His angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. Because He has set His love upon me, therefore I will deliver Him. I will set Him on high, because He has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer Him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. That is the word of the Lord. That is the word of the Lord for his people. It's so important that we have a storehouse, a treasure house of these mighty scriptures to hand when we need them. When we need them. Because they are power. They are power. But we have to declare them. And we have to speak them. Okay? So,
Your computer just said no viruses found very appropriately.
oh, yes. Thank you.
Protection there as well.
Protection. Amen. So as you can see here, this is a place where you could easily dash your foot upon a stone. This is very steep, and it's treacherous, and finding the right place to put your foot each time you step, especially when the trail starts to peter out, is tricky. And it was this way on both sides of the mountain, and we were heading up this ridge that would continue up to I think we got. This is where we were heading to. We didn't get there. We got to about right here, where on these little peaks here we got right there. So we'll get more into that. But just to say that I'd done a huge amount of research. Like I said, I kind of prepared for it for about 10 months. And Eva and I had talked over a lot of it. I'd read accounts, of people that have done this walk. It's not the standard one that people do. The standard one is everybody goes up Carntoon Hill, which is it's along this ridge, a few mountains down. It's the highest one in Ireland. And they all do the same approach. They don't go through any of these other mountains. They just come right from the valley. It's called the Hag's Glen, which is nice. But and they just go up this glen and they go up to the mountain and then they come back down. It's kind of like it's kind of like if you're going up to the top of Slieve Donard, right? Everybody goes the same way. They go to the Donard car park there. They walk up the Glen River and then they go up the Mourne Wall up to the top of Slieve Donard and back down. It's kind of like the way everybody does it. Well, we didn't want to go that way. For one thing, the way we've been doing the Mourne Mountains over the past couple of years is and something we kind of really, really like is we bring everything with us and we kind of move through the mountains. So we, in other words, we hike up the mountains and then we go down to find a place suitable to camp and we set up camp and then we go, the next day we go to the next mountain until we try and get all the way through them. But I was beginning to see that that wasn't going to probably be possible in this mountain range. And I knew this was a whole level up, a whole step up from the Mournes, the McGillicuddy Reeks. But I thought, at first I thought we wanted to try and do that. And then I just said, Eva, I don't think we're going to be able to do that. Because it's just once you get up there, it takes a while to get back down. And to move all the way, and there's a lot of places where there's just no suitable camping spot. So you can't really, unless you're really moving fast, and I thought we're not going to be moving really fast. So anyway, we initially the plan was like ultra ambitious. Then we narrowed it down to just an ambitious one. But we said, look, at any point we can change this ambitious plan and do something differently if it doesn't look good. So what we decided to do was, this is walking up on Tuesday night to the easternmost mountain of the Reeks. It's called Strickeen. It's only like 400 meters high. So we walked up to the top of that in the evening after we'd taken the train down, and we spent the night there, and then we started, next morning to do the sort of more vigorous stuff. But the plan was to go up to this mountain first, and then to move along the ridge from there, and such a thing. And then, so that was this mountain that I just pointed to, and then to come along here, come down here, and up this ridge, and up to here, and up to that. Okay, on the very tip of that, that's called Cruach Moor, and on the very tip of it, there's a grotto. I don't know how they got the stones up there to make this grotto. Unbelievable. But anyway, the plan was to go to that, and then on the ridge then turns north. It turns to the left, that direction. And on the other side of that ridge, down below, there's a lake down there, and we were going to go camp down there the next night. That was the plan. We said, if we can get that far. It seemed doable. All the accounts I've read of this ridge had said that it doesn't start getting really tricky until after that point. In other words, if you stayed on the ridge after that, we were planning to go down into the valley beyond it, not to stay on the ridge. If you stayed on the ridge when it turned left there, it got really dicey. It got like you have to scramble. In other words, you have to use your hands and your feet. Okay, and I thought there's no way we're doing that with heavy rucks on. Okay, with all our camping and tents and sleeping bags and everything that we need for three nights in the field. So I thought we'll get up to there, we'll get out and we'll go camp, and then we'll just leave the next day after that we thought, well, we'll just leave our tent down there and go exploring around and see what else we can climb, and then we won't have to have our heavy packs, then we'll come back, and then we'll come back out the same way we came. That was the plan originally. Well, this was in the evening, Tuesday night. As I said, the weather was supposed to be fantastic, Brad, and it looked, and I kept checking it all the way up until we were right down there, you know, in Killarney, and getting ready to go to our starting point. And but then all of a sudden, we went to a place to get a nice big meal before we left, near the starting point, and there was Wi-Fi there in that place, and I was checking the weather. And all of a sudden it started to show slightly different now. This is what happens, the weather can change, but you just never know. But still it was all good, the winds were fine, the winds were low. It said there might be a shower overnight and some cloud in the next morning, even though originally it said like pure sunshine all the way through. We said, okay, that's fine. But the problem was, one of the main problems I had was that my phone, I have a new SIM card with a new provider on my phone, and it's rubbish. The coverage is much worse than my old one. I used to be able to go anywhere in Ireland that I've been before and get data, but I wasn't getting data with this. So, in other words, although I could communicate with our phone when we were in the field, except for the last night when we were underneath this huge mountain and it blocked the signal. But when you're on the top of the mountains, you get a great signal for, like, you know, texting and stuff, phone calls. But I wasn't nowhere was I getting any data, and I needed data, of course, to check the weather. Okay, so that became an issue. But in any event, we left. So the next morning we woke up, and this is all from the Tuesday night. Again, this is where we were going to head. That first mountain here, and then down and up and up and up to there, and then up and up to there, and then on the other side. But the morning I opened the tent the next morning, and you couldn't even see the first mountain. I mean, you couldn't. Everything was it was just socked in with mist. So I just closed the window. I said, let's just go back. We're not going to get up until we can see. We're not going to think about going up there unless, and this is supposed to clear throughout the day. So it did end up clearing. That's the first mountain there. So we were camped here, and then we headed out the next morning to go. And we were heading up for there eventually. So anyway, we did that, and finally it passed. But still, this where we were headed to, although it raised up so that we could see the first mountain, this was still covered in mist. And again, I had no intention of trying to get up there because, you know, if you couldn't see. You know, so we were going to have to turn around if that didn't lift. It did in the end lift before we got there, praise the Lord. But we never had good sunshine that day. It was supposed to be pure sunshine. It was just kind of overcast and everything. And plus, it was supposed to be at 1,000 meters high. It was supposed to be 5-mile-an-hour winds, which is basically nothing, right? Well, here, this is like 800 meters here, and it was quite a brisk breeze. Okay, so when you were in the more exposed areas, you know, you felt like the wind was catching your rucksack and that sort of thing. Again, there was a concern that the weather was changing in a way that I couldn't monitor. Okay. So anyway, we got up to the first mountain that I said. I didn't take any pictures from that mountain, but basically, let's see. This is the next day. So this is a picture from that first mountain I pointed to. I said, we're going to climb this one first, then it's going to go down and back up. This is a picture from that mountain. As we're going down the other side of it, following this ridge line, and this goes down to here, and then goes up here, and that's where we were headed. Okay. So just before I took this picture, when we had gotten to the top of that mountain, I said, look, even when we get up there, what we'll do is we'll stop and we'll get lunch. And we'll reassess, because I could tell even going up that mountain, there were some steep parts, but it hadn't been steeper than anything that we'd done before. But it was this really, really muddy trail. It was thick mud, and in fact, the whole approach to that mountain was pure water. It was a pure bog, and it was really difficult to get through to stay dry. I was able to do it because I had big, heavy boots on. Eva had hiking boots, water-resistant, Gore-Tex-lined hiking boots, but not as big and heavy-duty as mine. And so her foot went into a bog and went over. So she had completely wet feet. So on the way up, we had to actually stop on the mountain, on that first mountain, and she changed her socks, but her shoes were soaked, so then her next socks were getting soaked as well. So it was like, kind of like from the beginning, it was like, that's not a great way to start, you know? And so we got up to the top, and she was like, are we going to go back down that thing? And she's like, how are we going to get back down that if it's so slippy? She was worried about that because we still had to get up and over this thing, and it was supposed to be really steep on the other side of this, but doable. Again, I've looked up the hike, I've read about it, it says it's moderate to strenuous, but the strenuous bit we had cut was when you go over this, and we weren't going to do that. That's the real sort of, so it didn't say the bit that we were going to do was strenuous, but we knew it was going to be steep. And so Eve was thinking, you know, it's the fear of the unknown starts kicking in. It's like, you know, we're going to get up there, but then how are we going to come back down this way? What if we can't get down the other side? We get up to it, what if we get stuck up there? So these kinds of things are obviously going through both of our minds. I said, hey, we'll get up to the top of this first mountain, we'll have lunch, and we'll see what happens. So we got up there, we had lunch, and the mist was at that point was lifting off this, as you can see, it was clear, and so that was, thank God for that. And all of a sudden, Eva goes, I've got this back thing, this thing in my back. It does it every now and then. I don't know if she's told you about this, but where her back just kind of, it hurts all of a sudden to like bend either direction. I don't know if it's growing pains, I don't know what it is. So anyway, but it sounded like it wasn't muscular, like it was something to do like with the... No, but I'm saying, but even before, I'm saying this is something she says happened. So she said on the way up this hill, this first mountain, that started to happen, right? So instantly I'm thinking, right, well, you know, Eve was a little unsure. I could see her like unsure about going up the muddy path, and now she's got this back thing. So I'm beginning to wonder, you know, what the right thing to do is. So the first thing I did was I took out the anointing oil, I anointed her back, and I just rebuked this thing. And praise be to God, it didn't come back the whole time we were out there. And we'd received an update from Sue, which was encouraging. There was a lovely word there from Joyce. Had said a word for me and Eva. When she and Michael, Joyce and Michael were praying for us, she got a word and she sent that to Sue, and Sue forwarded it to us. And so I said, look, Eva, here's what we could do. It was quite calm on the backside of this small mountain, the smaller mountain. We could even, if the winds are going to be what they said they were going to be, we could actually camp even up here. But the only problem with that is we had no access to water. But I said, even then I could run down and get us water. I could hike down to where a stream is and get us water and come back. So I said, you know, we don't have to worry about, you know, if we press on, if we decide to press on, we can always come back to here, I said. But what we did then was we just prayed. We just prayed for wisdom. And I just said, Lord, show us, you know, show us, guide our steps, Lord. Your will be done. Show us what decisions to make. Give us supernatural wisdom. And so we prayed that, we talked some more, and we decided mutually to press on to this, okay? But to turn back if at any point it was no good. So that's what we did. We pressed on, and this looked pretty foreboding here. We couldn't even see where the trail was at this point. And that's always a worry if you can't see the trail, because, like I said, it's very treacherous, where, you know, the terrain. But actually, when we got down to here, then we began to see a trail, and it looked like, you know, it was a good trail. So we started going up. We went up this, and we got up to about, in the end, you know, very close to, that's where we were headed, remember, for that little thing right there. We got up to about here, but here's what happened. As we were going up, as we got higher up on this, it went down here and went back up. As we got higher, it began to get rockier and more outcrops on the ridge. And the thing is, this ridge is not, it's like on either side, it's like this. And the ridge is like, you know, that wide. So it's not like, there's not a lot of room to move. And so when all of a sudden then you have this big outcropping of rock in front of you, you're sort of puzzling, like, what do I do here? You're looking for the trail, and the trail just peters out. And you really need local knowledge, or you need a lot of time with no weight to kind of be able to investigate. I'll go out here for a minute, and this is no good, then I'll go back and I'll see if it's over here. So these are some of the lessons that we learned. But in any event, as we got higher up there, it became more and more difficult to get to know how to get over or around these big outcroppings of rock. Because I was in my head, I was convinced we didn't need to do scrambling. Scrambling, again, is when you're like basically climbing, but without like a rope and you know, all that stuff. Not climbing a sheer face, but you know, it's steep enough to where you need to like use your hands, you know, to go along. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want Eva to do that. Eva didn't want to do that, okay? And especially with our big rocks. So we get to these big outcroppings of rocks, and there was everything I read said the scrambling didn't begin till you got over here. And we weren't doing that. And so I thought, well, then we must have to go around these outcroppings of rocks, okay? And sure enough, it's very deceptive because you're looking for the trail, and there's like, the trail it's really, there's times when you just can't discern it. But there's other things also that deceive you. There's like little animal trails that the sheep and the goats take and stuff like that. But of course, they're much better at negotiating these things than we are. So I saw this, so there were times like I saw a trail, but actually it turned out it wasn't the trail, and it was taking us around the side of the mountain as opposed to up and over. But I thought that was safer than climbing up these big outcroppings, okay? So in the end, what happened was, I'll just show you this here up close. Let's see. In the end, we got to this outcropping here. At some point, you can't really see it here. Let's see. Yeah, somewhere in here, we got off the trail and we got on the side of the mountain and we got into difficulty. And basically, we were scrambling. There was no way you had to just use your hands. And, you know, here's the thing. We have to always be, you know, presenting ourselves, giving ourselves to the Lord.
Yeah.
All aspects of ourselves, you know. And the thing is, we cannot just go off of, you know, the things that have worked for us, okay? Because we all have different dispositions, different natures, different traits, natural ones, okay? And some of those things are good in some circumstances, but in other circumstances they're not good, or they're inappropriate. And that's why God wants us to give him everything. He doesn't want us to go, oh, look, I'm good in this area, right? So I don't need you for that guy, but here's the area where I really need you. No, he wants us to constantly be submitting every aspect of ourselves. So one of the things about me is that I am inherently a risk taker. I mean, it's just my personality. It's just my natural kind of way, you know. And I've always been that way. And you know, and that's served me well in some things, and it's served me not so well in other things. And so, you know, that's something that we have to. And so, if I err on the side of risk, then that's something that I constantly have to be submitting to the Lord. So it's not of me; it's of Him. And if I submit it to the Lord, I say, Lord, you know, here I'm not going to go like, oh, I've done all my studying, I've done all my research, I'm good to go. So I've assessed the risk, because you know, risk assessment, balancing everything. But it's like I still have to submit that to the Lord, and so too with so many other areas of our lives, because you know, it's like some people are naturally outspoken, okay, and so they err on the side of speaking out, and some people are the opposite. They're naturally very quiet and find it very difficult to speak up, okay, so they tend to err on that side. But there are times when God wants us, no matter what our dispositions or our traits are, there's times when He wants us to shut up. And there's times when He wants us to speak out. Okay, so we have to not go off of our natural instincts, but we have to constantly be submitting these things to the Lord. So when we got into difficulty over here, you know, obviously part of me was, although I was, you know, in, you know, sincerity, I was submitting to. I was saying when we were praying earlier on the earlier hill for wisdom, you know, I really was asking the Lord for wisdom, and I really believed that we wouldn't take a step that was not of Him. But by the same token, there was this thing pushing inside of me, like, I mean, are we really going to, you know, are we really going to just turn around and go back now, okay? Or are we just going to camp here and then go down tomorrow, or go down the next day? I thought there was more to be done for us, for this, and this thing that I was doing with Eva. I thought there was more to be done. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I don't really know. God knows. Okay. But what I do know is that pressing on, okay, did bring us into this place of difficulty, okay, and so I'm just laying that out there, you know, for you, but we have to constantly be able to go, Lord, you know what I'm like, Lord. Let this decision not be of me. Let it be solely of you. Yes, I want to keep charging on because that's how I am. But if that's not of you, then, you know, please let it be your will and not my will. So anyway, let me just look at a couple more pictures here and I'll get into it. So you can see the steepness there. Right, so yeah, this is a good one here. So when we got into difficulty down in here, we got off, literally you were supposed to go right up and over these things, and I found this out later. But when we got into difficulty down here, and Eva was getting, I could see, you know, the fear building in her. I could see it was a fear of, one, like, the thing is, I knew she could do it. I knew and that's what I was basing my assessment on. Like, we're okay, I can see this is doable, we can get out of this, it's not ideal, it's not great, but we can press on. At that point, you can't stop when you're down here. I mean, there's just no stop. You know, the best thing is just to get to a place where it's stable again, and then to reevaluate what you're going to do next. And I knew she could do it, but I also, of course, she's thinking, well, but what if I do make a mistake? Okay, what if I do make a mistake here? Because there were consequences if you did make a mistake. Okay, so I could see the fear building in her and the fear of the unknown. We still don't know if this is so. This was supposed to be the easier part. We're still going to get on the other side of this thing. We haven't even seen that yet. In order to get down to a campsite, we want to be able to. It's getting later in the day. We had a lot of light. We had, you know, I knew sunset wasn't until 9:30, so thank God we had a lot of daylight. But still, it's getting quite late in the day at this point. And all these things I know are going through Eva's mind. And as Eva, we discussed it later. Her fear was, one, the consequences of making a mistake, because the consequences are, I mean, look, it would not be good. But then also the fear of, like, the unknown, like not really knowing, you know, not being able to see where we're heading, you know, where are we going to camp? Are we going to get down in time? Are we going to have water? Is it going to be, you know, the winds? What are the winds going to be like? That was one of my concerns, because if they were changing, you know, you don't want to be caught anywhere near the tops of these mountains. If the winds are heavy, you just get blown off the mountain. So anyway, and I'm trying to get back to Sue to try and, like, find out try to deal with try to call PlusNet. I didn't have a number for them to call from Ireland to find out why I'm not getting data. I thought maybe they could fix something on their end. So in the meantime, we're trying to do all this. But anyway, when that fear was growing in her, and we were on that side of that mountain, and we were, you know, scrambling along, trying to get back to some place, and I told her, I said, Eva, we're just going to have to keep going through this till we get to the top. You know, it was a terrible, terrible feeling, a fear that welled up in me for her, you know, and a horrible feeling like, what have I done? How could I have brought my daughter into this? How could I have put her in this position? Was this my, you know, risk-taking gung-ho thing? You know, has that endangered the life of my daughter? You know, all these things. So I'm feeling this kind of oppressive guilt. I'm also feeling this fear that's sneaking up on me. Okay, so Eve is feeling this fear because she's concerned that she's going to, you know, what the consequences are of a misstep. I'm feeling this fear because I'm thinking, I know we can both do this, but she's getting nervous and fearful. That can lead to mistakes. And so I'm thinking, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? And then, you know, those images start to come in, like, what if she slips? What if she falls? Okay, so at that point, guys, and I just believe, and again, this is not about saying, I'm trying to be as honest with you as possible. It's not about, you know, hey guys, I did it all right, because clearly I didn't, and we made mistakes, and I didn't see that the path went over the outcroppings. I didn't realize how difficult it was going to be with the heavy rocks, that we shouldn't even really have been up there with those big rocks at all, that it should be like just a day trip up and down without all the camping gear. All these things are going through my mind, okay, and the fear is coming over me. And it's like this is the power of God. This is the power of God. The power of God is when we have our sword of the Spirit, okay? And when that sword has been daily sharpened, these things come back to us. And by His grace and His Holy Spirit, these verses start to well up in me. These mighty psalms that we've been studying in the Bible study, they start to well up in me, and I start to declare them over the situation. I declare them over Eva. I speak the truth of the Word, and I speak it into our situation, into my daughter's situation, into my, situation. Lord, guide my steps. Lead me, Lord. Instruct me with your eye. Lord, let your angels shall bear Eva up. You will not allow her to dash her foot against a stone. There's such power in this. And as I spoke it, I knew it. I knew it was true, okay? And that's what we have to be like when fear and guilt and regret and all these things overtake us, We have to draw upon the mighty Word. And sometimes they overtake us when we're not, right there with the Bible in our hand. And the other thing about not having data was I couldn't even do because I have a new phone and I don't have the Bible downloaded on it. I just have Bible Gateway. And I couldn't figure, on my old phone I could download the Bible onto it so I could read the Bible offline. The whole way down on the train I was trying to figure out how to download I couldn't download the Bible onto my phone, so I had it offline. So in other words, without the data I had no Bible either while we were in the field. And I hated that because I love waking up every morning and doing my first thing in the tent and doing my little Bible study. So anyway, it's like, but what the Lord was saying to me was, this is why it is so important to be in my Word constantly. To have it to hand. It is a weapon against fear. It is a weapon against danger and death. Okay? And it's something that we have to constantly, no soldier worth their salt just, takes their weapons and chucks them in the corner, and then someday when they need them comes along and sees like, oh, is this going to work? Is this any good? When I was in the military, what we used to say is, you take care of your gear and it will take care of you. And we need to see that these weapons, these spiritual weapons that He's given us are like that. They need to be cared for. They need to be honed. They need to be, utilized. We need to be in the Word constantly, guys. Not just twice a week, but constantly reading it, taking it in. Because when we do that, I don't care how feeble we think we are intellectually, our spirit, forget the intellect, our spirit is taking that in. And it is a treasure house of power in the day of trial. When we need it, it is there. And the power of that. And here's another thing, guys. What was I preaching about just last Sunday, I think it was, that we met here. I was preaching about the grace, or was it on the Friday night? Maybe it was the Friday night. But just the grace, the power of the grace, the extravagance of it, how it's so far beyond what we give it credit for. It's so over the top. It's so, as my daughter Anna would say, because she always accuses me of this, it's so extra. I don't know if you've heard this. This is an expression I guess young people use. She's always like, Dad, you're so extra. So anyway, it's like, that's what God's grace is like. It is so extra. It is so extravagant. And the thing is, it's like we want to beat ourselves up and we start to second guess ourselves. And, it may very well be that was utterly my fault and should never ever have been. Well, it definitely wasn't my fault because I let it into it. But the point is, it could be that I shouldn't even have been there, okay, with my daughter. That it was my own human nature just pressing on. Even if all of that is true, like I said, I'm not sure what the truth is, but God will make it clear to me. But even if that's true, the moment I go, God, I cry out from that place of brokenness. The moment I do that on the basis of the blood of Jesus, all the power and authority of God
how we've mucked things up and how we've gone wrong, or we can't get past trying to work out if we have, or we're trying to vindicate ourselves. No, because I did this, so I should be, but maybe I'm not, maybe I shouldn't. And we start going through this ridiculous, tortuous mental exercise. How we should have done that, and we should have done this, and we did, rather than just going, no one is good. Nobody does it right. That's what the scripture says. No, not one.
Yes. Amen.
So there's no hope anyway without the blood of Jesus. So why not just count on the blood? Not looking to the future, counting on the blood, like, ooh, I can make all kinds of mistakes tomorrow and the blood's going to just, not like that. That's what Paul meant when he said, where sin abounds, grace abounds more. But does that mean we should be sinning to get more grace? Obviously not. But the point is, when we're looking back, okay, we need to leave those things behind and press on to the upward call. Okay? And we do that by crying out to God. By crying out and saying, God, you made a way. Jesus, you died to turn this mess that I have made into something beautiful. That is why you died. That is what I'm going to count on. That is what I'm going to stand on. Don't waste time going over. Yes, the Lord wants us to learn from our past mistakes, but let His Spirit show you, okay? Don't waste time trying to work out whether you're vindicated or not in your own mind. It is a waste of time.
Amen.
Submit it to the Lord. Cry out for mercy. Apply the blood. And then grab on to His word and His truth and start declaring it. And it occurred to me as I was thinking about this afterwards, I was lying in the tent much later that night, praising the Lord for being in this comfortable tent and sitting there, my daughter next to me, and absolutely, a little sore, but absolutely fine. And I just was like, I just felt the Lord showing me that, this is something that we can do in all of our lives. This so applies to our lives. I mean, especially leading our kids into something that's, failing our kids, not doing it right with our kids. Oh, I wish I taught my children this. Oh, I wish I'd been a better father here or a better mother there. If only I had invited Christ into that situation, my kids, my grandkids, my family would not be where they are today. Why didn't I do this, Lord? Why didn't you shut up? With all due respect. Just apply the blood and let the grace, let it flow.
Wow.
Let it flow. That grace that it is never ending. It is the measureless measure. It is favor that just pours down from heaven on you. Not because you did it right, but because He did it right. That's why. That's why. This is what we need to grab onto, guys. This grace. And the thing is, in the same way that guilt and fear could have stopped me short right there. I mean, when fear comes to take your very breath, your very life, you can't move, you can't think.
Yeah, it's real.
It is real. And we need to declare the truth of the Lord in the face of it. Into the face of it. It's not human courage. My human courage can get me through that. My human courage cannot get me through it towing my daughter behind me. My human courage can do nothing against the fear of losing my daughter. Nothing. I need supernatural boldness, supernatural strength. I need that faith, that hope. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. It's a certainty of things that not yet seen. the certainty that came when I declared. I could actually see in my mind's eye the angels bearing up Eva. And I knew she was okay. I knew it. No natural reservoir can provide that. So then we got up to here. So we got up just shy of this outcropping. Okay, I think this is the one. And here's what happened. This is going all along that whole time. It gets steeper and steeper. Yeah, this is where, again, this is where we got into trouble here, and then we finally got back up to a stable place here. And I said, all right, Eva, relax for a minute, take off your pack. This smile didn't come yet. So here's what happened. I said, you stay here. I'm going to go forward over this outcropping, this big outcropping. Remember, we were trying to get to there. That was the top of the mountain. I'm going to go over this, and I'm going to see if I can, do a little reconnaissance, find the path, make sure I know it, and then I'll come back and tell you. So I went. That was the outcropping there. So I climbed up to the top of this thing. And sure enough, the path went right up the top. I couldn't see it at first, but this time I knew to just keep going, because last time I thought the path was going around and it didn't. And sure enough, and I found it again, it went right up to the top of it, and right over the top of it. And I got up there, and the wind was blowing, and I didn't even have my pack at that time. I'd left my pack down just to do the wee check, and I just knew we're not going any further. We are not going any further. I said, I knew to myself, I would be fearful. I would be, feel like I would fall if I had my full pack on doing that. Okay. So anyway, the best of research, there's nothing like local knowledge. Anyway, so I came back, and I knew when I told this to Eva, I knew she was just going to be, because her whole hope was not to go back through that thing we just done, but to get over this thing and hope to get down to the lake to camp. So I came back down, and I said, Eva, honey, we're not going any further that way. We can't do it. And tears welled up in her eyes. And she would probably kill me if I told you guys this. But, because I could see the fear, I could see she was just like, and she, of course I'm thinking all the same things. How are we going to get back in time? We don't know what the weather's much different today than they said it was going to be, in terms of the cloud. In terms of the wind was stronger than they said it was going to be. What if a big windstorm's coming in tonight? What if it changes direction and we think we're on the leeward side of the mountain, but actually and then we're right on the windward side of the mountain? So all these thoughts are going through my head, and there was still a lot to get through to get to be safe, and we were perched up on this, this very precarious position, and of course Eva was not. Psychologically at that moment, she was just like, so I gave her a hug, and I said, Eva, I will find a way back that's easier than that way we came. And I said, Eva, we will get somewhere safe to camp tonight, okay? So she said, okay. So I went back the way, the way we had come, but I went back along the ridge, but what I did was, I went over the ridge this time. So this is the next day here, but so we were up in here. Sorry, that's not it. It's the next one. Yeah, we were up in here, and I went back. We had gotten in trouble down here, okay, because we thought that was the way to go. Instead, I went right over the top of these things, okay, without my pack, just to check. And what I realized was that the path does go right over these outcroppings, and that it was doable, but that it did require some climbing down to do it. And so I realized I knew Eva could do it if she didn't have her pack on. So what I did is I went back to her where she was sitting there, and I said, okay, I found a way to go. It's the actual path. It is much better than what we did before, but I think when you see it, I think you'll think it's best that you just leave your pack and then go down without your pack, and then once we get down to the bottom of it, I'll come back and get your pack.
So that's what we ended up, and when I told her that, okay, that gave her hope, okay? And so that's when I took, so then I saw her sitting there with the mountaintop in the distance that we were supposed to go to. I thought, I should take a picture. I said, Eva, I'm going to take a picture just before we leave this thing. Just to, that's where we were headed, but we didn't get there. And so I took 3 pictures. The first 2, she's just kind of like this, trying to smile. And then the third picture, I could see she really wanted to make an effort because she didn't want the camera to see that she'd been crying. So that's why she's got that really cute little, she really tried that last smile to really force that smile out. Bless her. Anyway, it doesn't end there because we got down all these. See how you got to climb down? You can see that right there. It's like almost vertical there. So we got down to here, okay. And then I went back. I took my pack off, and I went back up and got her pack and brought it down. But when we got down to here, before I turned around to go back up, I looked behind me, and there comes Eva, and we're on flat ground now. Well, flat-ish. And Eva's coming up behind me, no pack on, and she's limping. She's like this. What is happening now? And we still have this whole thing to traverse and to find somewhere to get down low enough to get water to camp and the winds and all. So all this is still going through my head, and there she is limping. So I said, Eva, what's going on? She goes, I don't know, something, my ankle, I've done something to my ankle, I don't know what it is. I felt it earlier, I think it might have been a twist or a sprain somewhere, but at the moment we were in the middle of something, so I don't really remember exactly when it happened. So I said, right, sit down here. I said, I'm going to go get your pack and I'll come back. Okay, so she sat down, and I'm thinking as I'm climbing up to get Eva's pack to go back where we left it, I'm thinking, Lord, she's not going to make it. If she's limping like that without a pack, there's no way she's going to make it down this treacherous trail all the way to the bottom. I'm like, am I going to have to call an airlift? I'm going to have to get her airlifted out of here. And instantly again, the word of the Lord broke through. It broke through. I am your rescuer. I am your strong tower. I am your salvation. I am your deliverer. And he's like, I am your airlifter. I am the one. Why are you, thinking that when things look dire, you have to set your hair on fire and run to the nearest authority? I am the authority. The Lord, all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me, Jesus says. So I got back down and I got out 2 ibuprofen. I gave her 2 ibuprofen. And then I took that boot off and I anointed that. I bought my oil. I anointed her ankle all in oil. And I just said, you are not staying here. You are not staying. And I just rebuked it. And I pleaded the blood of Jesus over it. And I said, this is healed. And she had no further problem with the ankle.
You are becoming the man of faith.
What's that?
You are becoming the man of faith.
The man of feet. But our feet are pretty important. Think about it, If the feet don't work, not much else is working. So anyway, again, guys, we need to be taking up this amazing authority He's given us. And it's not, oh dear Lord, God forbid the thought that it's only special people. That it's only, well, that's you, Joseph, because that's a gift that He's given you, and so you can use that. But how are we supposed to use that? That is not what the Scripture says. Paul says, desire the gifts. Pray for them. Ask for them. Jesus says, God, your Father in heaven, He loves to give you good gifts. Okay? Jesus says, whatever, I give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Those who are filled with my Spirit, those who believe and are baptized and are filled with my Spirit, will go and they will heal and they will set people free and they will be bitten by serpents and they will not get sick.
This is what, it's not special people. It's people stepping in to the fullness of a very special God.
Yes.
That's what it is, guys.
And it's the extra authority we have in our family
Oh,
as well. I
totally.
think there's some,
Totally.
you know, we need to realise that as a praying mum or a praying dad, we have so much authority.
Absolutely.
You know, we really
Absolutely.
know.
Husbands'
Yeah,
authority
yeah.
over wives, over children. Wives' authority as well. The ideal position is for the husband's authority to be at the top, and then it works its way down. But when the husband isn't stepping into that authority, it's transferred to the wife. The wife then has that authority over the marriage, over the children. And remember, it's not a bossy authority. It's a spiritual authority. It's authority over the things of hell that are devised to come and steal and to kill and destroy and to rob and to ruin and to tear up. Okay? And the authority he's given us. The problem is we think it's for special circumstances. Oh, I've been praying and fasting this week and we've got the mission on, so I'm all prepared for it. Whew, that's going to be where the Lord's going to give me the authority. But when I'm in my end of my tether in the mountains, panic comes on, and it's like, who do I run to? What's the number for the mountain rescue?
Yeah.
You know? What am I thinking?
Exactly.
What am I thinking? You, Lord God Almighty. It's like in season and out of season. It's not about, oh, this is the time, this is the special anointed time, okay? But if it's not, we didn't pray and especially, think about this time, so we're just on a camping trip, so this isn't the time for the authority to come. It is always the time, in season and out of season. Jesus cursed the fig tree for not producing fruit when it was physically impossible for it to produce fruit. It wasn't the season. It was out of season.
Yeah.
But he cursed it. He expects us, he's not going to curse us, but he expects us to produce the fruit because whenever it needs produced, because he made a way for it to supernaturally be there whenever. It doesn't just have to be the high and sort of, ooh, I'm in the real spiritual mode time. It can be whenever, okay? It can be whenever. So, praise be to his holy name. And the thing is, guys, your prayers are so a part of this. It's like, it's powerful. It's powerful because it's like that fog lifting off that mountain. There's no way. What if we got stuck in that fog? There's no way we could have safely come down. It's like those verses welling up in me. Okay, at just the time when I needed them to. That's your prayers at work. None of us are on our own. We so need each other. We so need each other. And we don't know what our prayers, the exact effects of our prayers, but we don't need to because the Spirit gives us utterance anyway. And he knows and he does it. And every time you saturate a circumstance, a situation, a nation, a family, a people in prayer, every time you do that, you have no idea what's going on, but the Lord is using those. Just like the image you get in Revelation, when the prayers of the saints are symbolized by the incense that's on fire in the incense holder that the angel is holding. And then he throws that down. And it's like thunder on the earth and lightning and hail, burning hail on the earth. Okay? In other words, coming against the things that are, trying to kill all the Christians, right? Because that's a picture, that's the prayers of the saints. That's what God is doing. He's gathering up your prayers, he's setting them ablaze, and then he is casting them into these situations where the enemy thinks he's ruling and reigning, and he is burning the enemy up, he's wiping them out, he's knocking them out through your prayers.
Joe, I just keep thinking when you say that, it's like the forerunner with the torch. your prayers is like before
Yeah.
before every
Yeah.
situation.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
this verse keeps coming to me
Yeah.
since she started to speak just about, and I thought about how, you know, you said you thought you made a mistake, and
Yeah.
I remembered one time there was a lady who spoke a prophecy over my son, and she gave a very specific prophecy that is now actually in some part it's being fulfilled.
Yeah.
But she said to him, "Don't forget mistakes as part of the journey."
Yeah.
It was interesting. But this scripture came to me and said, "Yet I will rejoice in the Lord." And this was in Habakkuk, and where it said the fig tree wasn't blossoming, there was no fruit on the vine, right? And then he says, "Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will take joy in the God of my salvation. God the Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the deer's, to make me tread on my high places."
Amen.
I've been thinking of scripture all the way through, it's
Wow.
and that is the supernatural exchange of the feet.
Yes.
On the hinds feet is the
Yes.
supernatural equipping that
Yeah.
he does when we're making the climb.
And it's interesting that I often wondered then what that meant about treading on my high places.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
And high
right.
places always was places of idolatry in scripture.
But the high place as well was the mountain top.
Uh-huh.
Place his presence and his dwelling and
Yeah.
Zion and that.
But it could be too, I felt that maybe God is leading us into places to bring down the places that we are so prone to go into
Yeah.
in the natural.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
you know, to bring
Sure.
them down.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that.
Oh,
I don't know.
absolutely,
yeah.
that's scriptural as well. He brings down the mountains low.
Yeah.
It says also a picture of pride and the enemy as well.
Uh-huh. And
The
for
fathers
fears,
become-
it's actually to eradicate the fears
Yeah.
and to realise that God is the
Yeah.
one that we can turn to.
So good. So look at that. Even I couldn't escape the impression that these all around us, these things were like teeth. They were like fangs,
Yeah.
gnashing teeth. And there's so many verses about that as well. You
Yeah.
know, about their fangs. You know, they're like lions. They're
Yeah.
out to
Yeah.
get me. But Lord, you will strengthen me. You will save me.
So there's prayer ministry available at the end to pay for the trauma and
Anyway.
Where was your mountain range? Was it, where was this,
McGillicuddy Reeks in County Kerry.
Kerry?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's lovely.
So we carried on down, and we got down to finally, we got down to here, which was at the very. Do you remember I said at the beginning when we went up the smaller mountain,
Yes, yeah.
and then we had to go down,
Uh-huh,
and then start up the bigger one?
uh-huh.
Well, that saddle right there, that's where this is, right here. And so we ended up going down here, and there's a river down here, and we ended up camping down there. But here's the thing, we had no idea what the winds were. Before we made that decision, I really didn't know what we were going to do. And as we were still on our way down, okay, the first person we'd seen the whole
God
time
sent an angel.
comes, I mean, literally this guy was running. This guy, he had no pack on, no nothing. He was in front of us, he was on the other side, kind of, he was coming down this thing towards us, okay? And we were up the other one. And this, I just see him coming, and he's just running. And he's running. And he finally gets up to us, because we're not running. We're going very slowly down the street. And he came down, and they started coming up towards us. And I said, hello. I said, excuse me, my data's not working very well. Do you know what the weather report they're saying for the winds tonight? And he's like, yeah, I think they're supposed to pick up. And I said, oh, because originally they were supposed to be quite low, but I have noticed them a bit higher today. And he goes, well, let me check. So he brought out his phone, and he checked. He said, no, it's actually okay. They're staying in the same direction, and they're going to stay low.
Okay.
I was like, thank God, because that was a huge concern for me of where we were going to camp. Okay, but then I started asking him, and we started chatting. I was like, yeah, we came up from Strickeen, and I said we were planning to go back out that way, but we're not going to get down there tonight. He's like, well, look, why don't you come down the other side of these mountains, and you could just go along and down to the river down there. And he was pointing down to it, and I said, well, is there an approach, to that? Or is that too steep to get to? He said, no. He says it'll be okay. It's okay. There won't be a path, but it'll be okay there. I thought that was such a relief to me, because I didn't even know if we could get down the other side of the mountain. None of none of the things I'd read, it talked about that being an approach. And it's all this local knowledge, you gotta have the local knowledge. And so anyway, and then he's like, or you could go alongside there, you could find a place to get it out from the wind, and there should be a creek or something up there you could get. So he's telling me all this different possibilities, and it just, both Eva and I, just this relief that came on us, and I was like, okay, thanks very much. And he's like, I'm just heading up to the grotto tonight. That was the thing on the very tip. I'm heading up to that, and I'm coming back down. And I was like, okay. I was like, we tried to get there, but we didn't make it.
Definitely an angel.
And then and we were like, thanks so much. Eva, yeah, I can hear Eva. She's like, thank you so much. And he runs off, just carries on up the mountain. And I was like, I turned to Eva and I said, that was an angel from heaven, Eva. She's like, yeah. And so again, that guy would be, and it was like 6:30 at night. And this guy's running up.
Backpack or
Nothing.
Nothing wrong.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Was he going to stay up there for the night?
no, he was coming back down.
Family got down.
Oh.
But
I did.
but just, I mean, again, that's your prayer, the prayers of the saints at work, providing me, with that guy to give it. And so then we're just like, okay, we're good. So we got down to here, and then we went down that side of the mountain, and we ended up, and it wasn't easy going down, I have to say. It was harder than he made it sound, but then he was probably much better than we were. But basically that was it. That's what we had to get down. We came down here. He had been running down here, right? We'd met him about right here. We came down to here, and we had to get down this to the river to camp. And so we ended up just coming along here and just kind of like going down the side like this. But this was pure, thick heather with massive either boulders or holes beneath the heather. And so you never quite knew what you were getting. So we ended up doing something that was, I told you, we're going to tell everybody that we were skillfully navigating our way down this. But actually what we did was a lot of bum sliding. Where you just go, well, it's pretty steep, but I'm not sure where the footing is, so I'll just bum it.
Great fun.
So anyway, then we got down and I was like, oh, flat ground. And that's when we set up our camp. And then we woke up the next morning with the most beautiful views. I mean, that's where we were camped right there. I zipped open the thing. It's like, oh. And so then that day we hiked. We had about a 3-hour hike out of here down this river the next day, and then eventually made it to the boats and caught these boats that then took us back. And the guy told us all this. We didn't even know about this. You could hike to this river where the boats are connected to the lakes that are connected to Killarney. So we went back on this 1.5-hour boat ride back to Killarney the next day, because he told us about that as well. So anyway, that was the trip. Sorry if I drew that out. That was drawn out too much, guys. But I want to thank you for your prayers. I want to encourage you guys that when we're in these situations, okay, we have to stand upon the truth. And all of these situations, guys, are metaphors for things that whether you camp or not, or whether you hike or not, these are things that we go through in our lives. And what I said to Eva, I said, if you assess the risks and you balance them, and you do the best you can, you submit it to the Lord, and you say, okay, we're going to go through with this. And again, I'm not sure I did that the right way, but he was faithful anyway. But I guess what I was saying to Eva was, these things we go through, they are, they make us stronger. They teach us things. They teach us how to lean upon the Lord and not upon ourselves. And they teach us how to draw upon His Word and all these kinds of things. So I'm glad that all this happened, because obviously we came through it fine. And I learned so much through it. I believe Eva learned a lot through it. And I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of her, because obviously she's just what is she, 13? She's just a 13-year-old, and she had to overcome and to be steady and to trust and all these kinds of things, and she did brilliantly. So I'm glad we did it. or do it much differently if Susan never lets us do it again. But these are things that happen in life. And the thing is, at the end of the day, guys, we have to submit risks to the Lord, and we can't just go off like I'm prone to do. Well, risks are good, let's just do it. But when we do that, risks can be very good. I mean, think about it, guys. How can you possibly do what the Lord has called you to do without risk? It's a risky business, being a disciple of Jesus Christ. It is a risk in the sense that you have to step out not knowing where you are going, just like Abraham did.
George Muller says there's no glory in doing what's possible.
Amen. Amen. As long as it's not of me and of the flesh and headstrong and all that stuff, and impulsive and all that kind of thing. But as long as it's like, no, Lord, you are confirming this. You have said go. You have said sell all that I own. You have said, step out into the water, into the stormy seas. Just step out. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And there is risk in it. But it's a risk that will bring glory to His name, guys. And when we trust in Him, when we get in those valleys, when we get down in the swells are all around us, we've got to be able to draw upon what He has given us to draw upon. In His mighty name. Let's pray. Lord, I just thank you, Jesus. I thank you for these people that are here today. I thank you for their prayers for me and Eva. I thank you, Lord, that it was your grace, Lord, that poured out upon me and Eva. Your grace that stirred up in me those verses, Lord, that I was able to declare, Lord, in order to still, to quench the fear, Lord. I thank you, Jesus, that your angels did bear us up, that your eye did instruct and guide us through in the end. I thank you that you provided your angels, Jesus, that you provided everything that we needed, Lord, even in the midst of my own mistakes, Lord Jesus. Your grace was constantly at work. I give you glory, Lord, and I ask you, Lord, that as we go forward in our lives, as we go forward, Lord Jesus, dealing with the past messes that we've made, dealing with the current trials that would seek to overthrow us, the fear that would seek to just stop us in our tracks, Lord, that take our very breath away. Jesus, that we would draw upon the power of the one who has overcome all of these things. That indeed, Lord, we would be of good cheer in the midst of tribulation, as you told us to, Jesus, because you have overcome the world and everything that it and the enemy can throw against us, Lord, even ourselves. Jesus, we worship you. In your mighty name we pray. Amen. Amen. Amen.